I was born with dual heritage in a land now known as one people out of many. If you ask me about my remedies, my mother taught me plenty. Mustard and emetics for clean the illness out. Calomel and cinnamon when fever used to shout. It's 1821 and I traveled to my calling, and over here it's cool and grey. I miss a Jamaican sun that used to shine upon my face, but I have a mission granted to me by God's grace. If you ask me, I will tell you my name is Mary Jane. I've traveled back to buy and sell. At my young age, I've done quite well. As years go by, I meet my beau. Off to the altar we shall go. It's hard enough being born where I was, but I've never let the adversity stop me before. Often, them closing on my face, but me not have no problem kicking down no doors. 1855 is the start of the Crimean War. Refused to help to get there when attempting to travel shore to shore. I fund myself to journey on to look after the sick on the battlefields and the front lines. With help from friends like Sally, I build a place where I can save lives. The British Hotel, maybe not a 5-star stay, but somewhere anybody can run to. A wounded man is a wounded man, no matter British or Russian. Them call me Mother Seacole because I don't just heal, I care. If you're injured, sick or hungry, believe me, I will be there. They'll tell you about Florence, but trust me, they almost forgot to talk about me. But I am glad I made a big enough footprint in our history.
So Matt, tell us about Desline Stewart.
She is a very supportive, strong-willed, inspirational person. From the moment I met her, she always valued my input, the input of the staff team. And as Desi always says, Mary Seacole, it's not just about the bricks and mortar, the building, it's about the people that work here.
She worked as a secretary at a number of organisations. And in Luton she worked for Electrolux, for Vauxhall, and latterly Skefco. So whilst at Skefco, she joined the Labour Party. She served with the Labour Party, eventually becoming a councillor for Biscuit Ward.
Well, she was a stalwart for me, a supporter of mine. And when I used to go canvassing in Ligay where she lives, and she would come out with me, even when she was not so young in years, but she would out there on the doorstep canvassing for me and making sure, particularly from people from her community, the Caribbean community, would come out and vote for me. So she was wonderful in that respect. But she's just, as I say, just been a dear friend.
She focuses on her strengths, not her weaknesses, on her blessings and not her misfortunes, because everything she does, she's quite forceful, and she doesn't stop at nothing to get what she wants. I'm so glad she's been in my life, because you know what, to have somebody with such, you know, grace and fortitude. You know what makes me, it makes me feel so proud that I have a role model to follow.
It's always more of a business relationship with me, really. If I'd go to her and she would sign the checks and we'd have a little chat, but her heart and soul is Mary Seacole, no doubt about it. Yeah. Everything that is her focus is about Mary Seacole.
Desline Stewart was a counsellor along with myself, and we planned it in her kitchen, actually. The first ideas of forming Mary Seacole happened in her kitchen.
When the young people come, they used to come to my home and complain and things like that. I had to use my kitchen to do everything. I had to make them a cup of tea, to make them, they came crying and everything like that. So everything started, my books, my writing up and everything that I had to keep in the kitchen.
For someone like Desi to have started this in the 80s, opening up her home to vulnerable children that were being taken advantage of, being exploited, shows the passion that Desi has. And it was only her drive that led to the organisation's stature or its growth today. Without someone like Desi, I don't think it would have been possible.
We provided shelter for homeless children, starting from the age of 16 to the age of 25, and then we moved it up, the ages up to 35. I don't know whether you remember Luton Churches. Luton Churches was a housing organisation, and we came under their umbrella to first start looking after kids. So we did looking after the kids while Luton Churches look after the building, and that's how we managed to get it going. And then we expanded to several other homes.
Mary Seacole, and it's become a very significant organisation now, but she was the one who had the idea in the first place, and she must be congratulated for that. Desline herself is a very caring person, serving her community over many, many years as a councillor, and of course she was the first black mayor of Luton, very significant as well. And she's got the MBE for all her work, which was thoroughly deserved as well.
I've known Desline since I was a child. She was friends with my parents, we were all involved in the Labour Party, but particularly as I got older and became a councillor as well, I got to know Desline much more personally. But her work helping young people who had, maybe run away from home, and she knew that they just needed somewhere to live. And it started as something quite small, and then it actually grew into Mary Seacole Housing. She recognised that sometimes things happen in people's lives, they just need that support. And as it got bigger and bigger, it needed to get more formal as well, with the purchasing of properties. And I just thought the way she chose Mary Seacole, who she saw as a real key role model for her. Mary Seacole was a black nurse who helped soldiers in the Crimean War, selflessly serving others who just needed help. And that actually reflects back on Desi, because that's exactly what she did. She saw that there were young kids who needed help and support, and she did that.
So initially, Mary Seacole started as a hostel for Caribbean young people, for them so those that were estranged from their families could actually have accommodation to live in. And then very quickly, the realisation came that lots of other children had that need, and so it opened its door to everybody.
She did a great deal in Luton to promote the West Indian cause in Luton. Now, it didn't give her much time for a great deal of family life, because she was dedicating so much of her time to the people of Luton. When she needed help and she needed a family supporter to help her develop the cause, we just ran and we helped.
She was involved in other organizations, so much so that members of the council, including councillors, were able to turn to her when they were having families having problem, and they were able to, she was able to provide accommodation for some of them, yes, at the time.
They simply came to her and say, Desline, I need somewhere to live, I don't have anywhere to live, I am in dire straits, and she would help. She would get housing, emergency housing, permanent housing, and that grew to the extent that she became known as Mrs. Housing.
People from abroad, we being part of the Commonwealth, and everyone saw England as the motherland, that's where everything happens. So it was geared to travel here. You heard about the Windrush generation. That was before me, but the people who came to England, a lot who never returned, so you heard a lot of story. The reason we came here was for educational purposes and work. That was the main reason.
When I was in Jamaica, I was very interested in the work that Mary Seacole had done as a child. She had created medicine at the age of 12 and things like that. I said, as I get older, I would like to do something for helping people.
Young black people who were born here, they don't know anything about the Caribbean. Up to this day, I don't think many of them ever heard of Mary Seacole, what she did or who she was. So that was something I studied, and I thought, this is a good ladder to climb on.
Desline named the organisation Mary Seacole because Mary Seacole is a black nurse in the 18th century who worked with Florence Nightingale. But obviously because of her colour, she didn't get the prominence that she would have as Florence did. And so Desline, being Jamaican as well, thought that actually Mary Seacole would be a good name. And we know that coming forward, how times have changed and how society's now recognising people for who they are despite colour.
And of course we mustn't forget that Mary Seacole herself was a wonderful inspiration to the black community. Going back, really became significant in the Crimean War with, at the same time as Florence Nightingale. She wasn't so well known, but should have been, I think, more celebrated, more famous than she was. And so Mary Seacole was a very special person, and now she's being properly appreciated, I think, not just in Britain but across the world, and rightly so.
I think what's really important to reflect on is that Luton is a really diverse town. And so whatever your background, wherever you're from, whatever your ethnicity, people will help each other. And I think that reflection back onto Mary Seacole herself, it didn't matter who she was helping. She just wanted to serve those soldiers who needed help in the Crimean War, whatever background they were from. And I think that's the linkage, particularly in Luton. And we're a super diverse town now, but even 30, 40 years ago, we've always had diversity and different people coming to live here from different countries, different backgrounds, and that reflection of why Luton comes through in the work of Mary Seacole Housing as well. The diversity of the people who are supported is just fantastic.
Mary Seacole obviously is a house that provides supported accommodation to young people. So we had young people from 16 to 25 who would be referred to us to live in the house. So we had to make the house really vibrant and bright so that these young people that were homeless, when they came in, they found a really beautiful accommodation to live in. I can remember that Luton Borough Council supported us quite a lot because we were able to get flowers from the grounds department, and on each floor of the house it was these beautiful flowers because it was March time, so it was all the tulips and daffodils, and the house smelt beautiful.
The whole idea of this Mary Seacole project was to capture these youngsters when they left school, and we would start them off at Brantwood Road, giving them life skills and all that sort of business. Fortunately, some of them were able to move on to proper jobs and getting getting trained and moving on in life.
When I came to Mary Seacole in 1995, Councillor Stewart always did fundraising. So fundraising was really high on the agenda.
She did a lot of charity work. It was 2 or 3 times a year. We used to go to the tins collecting, and as she says, we used to sleep out on the town hall steps and then collect in all the pubs and all around those places in the night. So
Because raising funds to help them was not an easy task. I tell you something, in the 90s, do you know how much I went around begging? I couldn't care whether you're Tory, Labour or Liberal. Went to get homes for homeless young people. And I had to fight very, very hard in the town hall that young people get single flats and things like that.
Well, we had councillors of all the different groups, from Liberals and Conservatives, coming out with us to sleep out to raise money to get Mary Seacole funded. And Desline Stewart was the pivot. She organised a lot of this.
Our main thing that we do is still supporting people that experience homelessness, but quite often homelessness doesn't really define the situation that somebody's in. It is just perhaps just a label. Actually, the reasons why they're homeless are because they're suffering many different disadvantages, whether it be mental health, financial, substance abuse, or trauma from early on in their life. And so really what the organisation has done is grown to support those many disadvantages.
So while at Mary Seacole, we also received lottery funding to build a training unit at the back of Mary Seacole House, which is 3032 Brantwood Road. And when we got the lottery funding, we were able to tender for a builder to come in, and they built it, and in the end we ended up with a really beautiful training unit.
So at Mary Seacole, what we've done is created more opportunities for people to have a taste of something that they're good at. So for instance, it could be an opportunity to learn how to build something through one of our upcycling projects, or it could be an opportunity to learn a skill that they can go off and use within the community, use as a business plan, for instance, barbering. Or it could be just getting a taster on something like media development, filming, or admin. But we don't want to create a feeling of stress or anxiety. So the expectation we place on these opportunities is tailored to that person. So they can just try it, basically, you know? They can just have a go. If they don't like it, they can try something else.
All I want to say is I hope the organisation goes on for the future and goes from strength to strength, and many thousands more young people can be helped sometimes with their difficult lives to get organised and get into a more happier life in the future.
even now she's still doing her bit behind the scenes, although she's not, I see her every now and then. I go and see her.
So even though she's not as mobile as she used to be, from her house, she is still working using the telephone as the most powerful arm that she can use.
Desline was a fighter in her own little unique way. You wouldn't think so, but she was quite effective. And you can see that I wouldn't use someone else, but how they go about things. You wouldn't thought, hang on, this little lady didn't have enough clout, but she has.
In our lives, it's not what we do or where we, our journey that we make. It's really the legacy we leave behind. And Desi is going to leave a huge legacy for everybody to benefit. And that's one achievement we all can be proud of, that she's made for everyone.
But it's people like Desi that make a difference. She made a difference in the 80s, and there's people in our community right now that are making a difference, and we just kind of really need to celebrate it more. And the way we celebrate it more is by doing things like this, curating making something that can stand for time in the future. People can look back and celebrate someone's life and journey. But Luton is a great place to live, and it is, it's a really caring community, and Desi is just one of the many, many people that have made an impact in Luton and changed many people's lives.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mary Seacole, but first and foremost, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Desline Stewart, the founder of Mary Seacole.
Thank you, Mary Seacole, for helping me get back up on my feet when I was needing it the most, innit?
I'd just like to say thank you to Mary Seacole for providing such an amazing housing association, which helped me in one of my struggles, my darker times.
Hi Desline, thank you so much for the opportunity to work at Mary Seacole.
Thank you for helping me.
Thank you, Desi, for this opportunity at Mary Seacole Housing.
Thank you so much, Desi, for all the work you've done at Mary Seacole and in the community for everyone.
Desi, the opportunities that you have given to so many of us and the lives that you've impacted over the last 30 years has been an amazing achievement, and Mary Seacole would not have been here without you, so we thank you.
Cold, lonely and afraid. I've been sleeping on my best friend's couch for the past few days, and I can't lie, I'm grateful, but I feel some kind of way because her parents want their sofa back, but they're way too kind to say. Sometimes I dream of having my own place, somewhere that I can call home, somewhere where I can feel safe. The thing is, I've always been independent. I had to grow up real fast. You see, sunflowers, roses and daisies can still bloom from the concrete if they want to reach the sun that badly. Kicked out of the house because my mum and I can't agree to disagree. The house is overcrowded, cases for two, but there are 5 plus me. Plus the childhood trauma just stays trying to follow me. I've always been able to look after myself, but I needed somewhere solid, kinda like Ashford and Simpson minus the romance, although if that's on the cards I wouldn't mind. Many have met a lady, they've never met someone so kind. Shelter, stability, consistency, exactly what was needed. She gives the best advice as well, and so, of course, they heeded. And many have been helped. Everyone who felt like they were placed upon a shelf. Some with complex issues, those with different needs, many with no money, with no food to eat. Can you believe Mrs. Stewart did this all from her home? I guess that's why they say, Mi casa es su casa. She influenced all of the politicians, churches and the council in the area. They saw how much work she did, and with funding and their unity, they bought a whole house, separate rooms for clients, a kitchen and a living room with a couch. We even have a pool table and staff around the clock, a garden in the back and not too far from all the shops. Named after a Jamaican heroine who aided in the Crimean War, I see the similarities in what you're standing for. To help, to heal, to cultivate, to create the change you wish to see. I write this all in truth because years later, this helped me.